and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
For the World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Well, hello and welcome everyone to another edition of the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green. How are you out there in podcast land? Thank you for tuning in for this and quite possibly previous and upcoming episodes. There's much thanks to go around for all of that. You know, I thought that I was clear of all the live sporting things, or at least the major live sporting things as it relates to the job, so I could concentrate on WoW once again. Overlooking, I forgot there's some minor things, but there was one big one that came up, the UFC prelims, which was airing live on CBS, and that kind of shuffled things backwards. At the same time as that was going on, we had some NASCAR racing going on with some of the supplementary channels, and I do believe there was a soccer game that was live. All of that to say that it was a relatively live room all the way around. And you know what that means when it comes to looking at WoW. WoW becomes a expendable component for the people that's in the room. I'm not saying that it was canceled across the board in different markets. Some areas they jipped into it. They joined it in progress, which was the case for what was that? Detroit? Yeah, I think that they joined in progress somewhere about 15, 20 minutes into it. So you lost a good chunk of, if you happen to be in that market. Now I know that was not the only one that got cut. Some of them might not have aired at all. But if you were in that market, there was a good chance that on this episode that I'm about to review, you might not have seen that. But fortunately, in most markets that I am aware of, they also have a secondary airing on the following night. So you should have been okay with that. In any case, it took me some time to get myself back together and actually watch these episodes that were being shuffled. I mean, as much as I would have liked to have seen it right then and there, you got to do the things that they're paying you to do. So, yeah, the WoW was like, look, I got to put this on the back burner right now. I'll get to it when I get to it. And I finally got to it. And oh boy, what an episode it was. First off, I think it's important to say that the bulk of the episode participants are people that I like. But there were a couple of things that just on the narrative end, that's just that. Well, I'm like, I just wish that this was something different. Just a little bit. And I'll come to realize that in some instances, not all, but in some instances, some people have listened to me to see what those variables that I see that they might not have were. I did not know that. I wasn't aware of that. It was expressed to me. It was like, no, I'd check it out because I didn't think about it that way until you brought it up. I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess thank you to that person that brought that to my attention. I hadn't looked at it that way before myself. It never occurred to me that the things that I saw within the course of a episode or just the overall narrative arc were things that some people did not notice or pay attention to, or whatever the case may be. But then there are some people that are the opposite way. They notice stuff that I don't pay attention to. They really dig deep into, this did this wrong and that wrong, and why this, blah, blah, blah. So we are going to continue to do the review and try to be as fair as possible. I just wanted to point out that it was brought to my attention by a particular individual that I've helped point some things out that he might not have otherwise given thought to. Now, that's not to say this person, we'll call him Wilson. Wilson is very capable of seeing things that would otherwise let him know if this makes sense or not. What Wilson doesn't do is Wilson isn't looking at it in the capacity of trying to sell something that wrestling would have normally done. And so because of that, he may overlook some things by his own admission. He's already gone and looked at WoW, because he has to, and pointed out several things of his own volition. So it's not that he looks at it like, this is a great show, and then I just yank the rug out from underneath him. Is that he sees in his mind his good and his bad, and then and again, I didn't even know that he tuned into the show, quite honestly. But he said, I've listened to you, and at some point, some of those dots connect. I think it's very evident that he isn't a massive wrestling fan. He's just kind of getting into it now. So this is training wheels for Mr. Wilson. That sounds like Dennis the Menace. But yeah, it's training wheels for him. So there we go. So that being said, Wilson, if you're out there listening, and I'm assuming that you know who I'm talking about when I say that, because I'm not using your real name, let's get ready for this next one, and I can chat you up about it, at work when we, cross paths again. So we're going to go right off into it, because those live action things are kind of flip-flop a schedule all over again. So we got to do the play catch-up game, and it is no better time and no better place to start than right here and right now. So let's get to it. This is the review of WoW episode 426. The title was Revenge of the Tier. The air date was the 4th of April. The chronological number, 182. 182. They are cooking along with these episodes. You got to give them credit for that. If there's nothing else that I can say positive about WoW and his narratives, program, his storylines, or whatever, if you don't get anything out of me that you feel like I was fair about, you can take this to the bank. It is an accomplishment that they have done this. Now, I was told at one point by certain individuals that this was, somewhat of a contract that was, what was it? What did they tell me? I think it was a 5-year deal. So there is something to be said for that, but I'm pretty sure if CBS decided that they didn't want to distribute it anymore, they can pull the plug and be done, but they probably also do not want to deal with the vast legal powers of Jeannie Buss if she gives a shit to do that. But she's got money enough to afford it, so, why run the risk, right? We will all find out where this goes by, I guess, the next season. This time next year, we'll know where we stand. So anyhow, that was the opening slate. And what do we have in this episode? Pray tell. It started off with a recap of the previous week's main event. That was Reina Del Rey versus Tormenta. They finally got into the ring with each other and hooked it up. Because we saw Tormenta win, and we saw the setup for an issue between the babyface group led by Tormenta and the Alliance. That babyface group apparently consisting of Gabriella Cruz, Jay Boogie, the Mites, Sugar and Spice, to be taking on the entirety of the Alliance. They ran out at the behest of David McClain because, as a commentator, he needs to get up and yell for help when somebody's hurt. Which I don't, I can't imagine why he's not just constantly up and down if that were the case. But anyhow, the next segment, we go to Sibley Scoles, who's backstage behind the LED boards, looks like. And she gets handed a note, I guess apparently by the cameraman, who got the note from somebody else, I assume. I don't know. And she is, giving this breaking news announcement that a 10-woman elimination tag match has been signed. And that match will feature the Alliance versus Gabriella Cruz. Well, I guess I should say the Alliance, Ariana Gambino, Reina Del Rey, the Eliminator Sylvia Sanchez, BK Rhythm, and Gigi Gianni to take on the combined might of Gabriella Cruz, Lil J Boogie, the Mighty Mites, Sugar and Spice, and Tormenta. This is presented as the committee made this match. I'm like, yeah, okay, the committee. Who is this committee? Where are they? Why didn't Strike and Blaze go to this committee to ask for their title shot rather than the Sibley Scoles? Or David McClain, for that matter, because we all know that he is the committee. I don't know what they're jacking us around for, but anyhow, this match is fine. I imagine that it's going to be a fine match. I used to really enjoy we called them, they were Survivor Series matches. That was the label, but they didn't invent it. The elimination matches are usually pretty fun matches, especially when there's a story to be told within it. And it is a great place for the babyface to overcome the odds. It's a great place for that. It sells itself. I wish I had faith that they were going to do that. I hope they prove me wrong. I absolutely hope that they prove me wrong. But I wish that I had faith that they were going to do a match that, let's just say, somebody within that they were trying to build into a bigger name had the opportunity to do exactly as I said, overcome the odds. But then it's a question of, well, who on that team would they try to put that effort behind? It probably wouldn't be the Mites. I don't know what they want to do with Cruz or Boogie. And Tormenta just came out of a title run, and there's really nothing to, and it wasn't a great run to begin with. I mean, it was kind of tainted with the injury. And she didn't really have a lot of other championship matches. She had 2 rematches, one of which she lost. She rematched against Classmaster, won that. Had some other match with Penelope Pink, then she rematched against her again, and then she lost. So it's not a stellar road to victory there, or road of victory. So anyhow, yeah, just to put a cap on the 10-woman tag, yes, I think it'll be fine as a match and concept, and yes, it'll be a big deal for a while. But I don't know if they're going to deliver the goods on it. I think the match will be good, but I don't think it'll be any story in it. I think it'll just be a random match. Never mind the fact that, that one random brawl kind of justified having this. It wasn't like they were engaged in some sort of huge ongoing feud or gripe or something along those lines where they were interacting with each other over and over and over again to where, okay, we've had enough. Now we have to do something to end this. Here's the match, and this will finish your issues once and for all. It just was, they ran out, they got into a brawl with him, and then, okay, you guys have a match. So it wasn't really a lot of motivating factor behind it either. I mean, it again, sure to be good, but it came out of nowhere. It's like, all right, now you guys had this 10-woman elimination. Huh? Okay. It didn't even, aside from the brawl, I mean, they really didn't touch each other. They hadn't gone through the Brat Pack versus Cruz or Boogie, or, they've gone against the Mites. There hasn't been some sort of switching and swapping of combinations amongst these 5 to get to this point. It just is. And that's been a large part of what I have had issue with WoW. Oftentimes, the motivating factors seem to be very little, if any at all. Next segment, Monsters of Metal come out to do a promo. Lane seems increasingly more comfortable on the microphone. I just wish that she and Fury had better material. It is slightly better because they had the championships. So they don't have to keep carrying on about, you guys cheated, you can't win without cheating, cheat. We don't have to hear that nonsense anymore. Good. And I hope just across the board that they have something else that they can say about the heels beyond the fact that they cheat. Almost all of them get hit with that. Have some other verbal things that you can use to illustrate the story, or chop your opponent down with a few words. But yeah, that complaining and crying about they cheating all the time is just, it's old. It is just push, play, and hit repeat. But anyhow, they get on the mic and they cut the promo for the crowd, and Chainsaw gets to be Chainsaw. They sit in the back and grunt and growl. They accept a rematch with Top Tier for the Trios Championships. And Lane ends it with "Welcome to the Freak Show." And I wrote, I wonder if she'll be able to get that over. The plus that Daisy Lane has is she can punctuate very well for the audience to get it, regardless of whether that audience has followed the story from start to finish, which I doubt that most of them have. But much like the concept of the stunt show, they will pop and they cheer and applaud on big things and big punctuation. So she has gotten that. And this to no fault of her own, Fury's own, Chainsaw, Top Tier, or anybody else in the locker room. I don't know how emotionally invested that audience is within what is going on there. I think they're there. I think they enjoyed what they're watching. I think they appreciate, it's a free show, I can watch this. But like having an invested interest in who wins and loses, probably not. Fury more or less led this segment to set up for the main event. And we have to wait until we get to that to finish this on out. The next segment is the Classmaster with the entirety of the Enlightened versus Kalaki the Island Girl. And this is where it starts to get a little rocky. Because the first thing I'm thinking when the entire group comes out there is, Okay, now is the time for Dave McClain to get up and say, hey, this group got to leave. They've already proven that they're going to do something. And when it was the Alliance that I was out at ringside, he kicked them out before they even had a chance. Before they even thought about cheating. They deserved a fair shot. I got an idea. Nigel gets up and kicks him out. I think what happened twice. So I'm looking at this, waiting as they come out. When is he going to get up and kick them out? When is he going to get up and do something? The answer was nothing. He wasn't going to. He had no intention of it, apparently. McClain seems very happy to have so many factions in a while. I was like, all right, well, I guess. Zayn calls this scene creepy. And I'm like, why? And I'm serious. Let me settle down. What is it that they are doing within this ring or ringside or walking to or from or anything else in between before or after that's so creepy? What? What is it that because they hold their hand up? What is creepy about the Enlightened? And I go back to my issue with them as a group. What is the marching orders for the people that are around the Enlightened? Are they supposed to be scared of them? Are they supposed to be unsettled by them? Intimidated by them? Not bothered at all? That should have been marching orders given to the room. If you're in the ring with the Enlightened, this is how you should be. We need you to be scared, concerned, this, that, whatever. But as it is right now, it's just Nigel and David McClain. Oh my wow, this is such a creepy scene. What's creepy about it? There's 5 women walking out to the ring in varying cartoonish outfits holding their hands up. Why on earth would this be creepy? And it only gets worse. I wrote, why is the entire faction allowed at ringside? Within seconds of this match started, Mindful and Nova Sky tried to interfere. Why are they there? And I couldn't understand it because, I didn't get a good audio feed. I was like, did the fans chant kick them out? If they did, then good. I couldn't make it out, but if they start chanting kick them out, then yeah, you should be chanting kick them out. It is exactly what I said before. You've illustrated that you can do it. And it's only a matter of time before fans begin to understand that. Everybody in the audience isn't stupid. So if you've shown one crowd that I have the ability to get up and force these people out of here at will, what's stopping me from doing it the next go round? Now again, it's been a while since I looked at this. I could have swore I heard somebody at least attempting to chant kick them out. I need to go back and watch it and verify that. But I wrote it down in my notes, so I'm pretty sure that it was there. The hand sign still hasn't been explained on TV. It has been explained on the podcast, but not on television. So they still act like, and what does that hand sign mean? What are they doing? Why are they holding their hands up? Explain it already. There's no reason for that thing not to be explained at this point. He just had it on the podcast. If anything, he should have been able to say, well, I was told that the hand sign stands for the 5 pillars of this, that, and the other thing, and blah, blah, blah. But it still hasn't been explained on television. And it just makes them look ridiculously simple and weak to be like, oh, man, this is scary. This is creepy. Ugh. Boy. Why? Anyhow, getting through the course of the match, I'm not sure if I want the Classmaster to need the Enlightened. Having her be part of the group is one thing. I'm not sure if I want her to need to have their help. Yeah, she's a heel. Yes, she should cheat. But when you're trying to sell her at some point as being this dominant thing, which is what they were doing, it's hard for you to sit up there and carry on about the 6'2" tall Classmaster within a group that has at least 3 people that's 6 feet. But at one point in time, they were trying to sell her as this dominant fixture. If you're trying to keep that, then she doesn't need to have the entire group come out. Just one is enough. That's all that is invite them to make overly complicated finishes. Because now we got to have 5 and 6 people participate in it. The ref, the opponent, Classmaster herself, 2 other people on the floor, Samantha Smart. It was like it's just opening the door to complicate whatever it is that they could have been doing. Stuff that they did before without too much of an issue. But now, because I'm part of this group, everybody in the group has to do something. Anyhow, moving on. So we get to the finish of the match. Kalaki hits her snapmare driver. You probably know how I feel about this snapmare driver. That thing should be the finish, but of course it's not. She hits the snapmare driver, then stupidly tries to do the surfboard spot. At that point, I was like, come on. I like Kalaki, but why? Because I don't remember her ever doing this in that sequence previous to being on WoW. And it's such a ridiculous sequence of moves. It pretty much tells you that, much like the Enlightened when they walked Santana Garrett out of the ring, I am in no rush. There is no reason for me to rush whatever it is I'm doing. I'm going to hit this snapmare driver, and then I'm going to pose on top of their body, and then I'm going to try to do the curb stomp, and hopefully I can hit that and then get the 3. It takes too long. And that's what she tried to do. She tried to do the surfboard spot. Then the ref gets distracted. Mindful attacks Kalaki. Pandemonium slides the book in for the Classmaster to use. Classmaster hits Kalaki with the book and knocks her down. And to her credit, she had a magnificent goddamn leg drop on Kalaki. I mean, it looked great. It would be to the point I was like, why don't you use that? It's a simple finish. It's a finish that everybody can take. Now, it probably will wreak havoc on your body if you if you're doing that night in and night out. But I don't think that you're going to be wrestling at WoW 5 and 6 nights a week for years on end. So you're probably okay. You're probably in the clear. But yeah, it was a simple move, but it looked great. Hits her with the leg drop. 1, 2, 3. Here is where I start to really have my issue. After the match. So after the match, the Enlightened tried to take Kalaki out on the stretcher. Stretcher was already positioned and waiting underneath the ring. Because why would security or the ring attendants or anybody else check underneath there to make sure that they didn't have anything that they didn't need? We'll skip past that. Because, we'll just go off of the wrestling logic that things get placed under the ring. I'll be fine with that. So we'll just assume somewhere within the course of the day, the Enlightened placed their personalized stretcher underneath the ring. And they went there and got it out, and it was getting ready to cart Kalaki off. Why? I don't know. Because they don't seem to have an issue with Kalaki. They made this all about Santana Garrett, but maybe they just wanted to prove a point to somebody else. So they do that, but then within 20 seconds or so, Destiny Diesel runs out with a trash can to run them off, and the entire team of the Enlightened, the entire team, run away. Not only do they run away frightened. Now I want to say that again. They didn't just run away. They ran scared. They ran away frightened. Go back and look at the match. Go back and look at, not the match, go back and look at the aftermath of the match if you can find it. And look at their faces. They're scared. Now, there's one woman that came out there with a trash. Now, that's not my personal choice of weapon. Because the first thing I was thinking was like, there's no way that she would be able to stop all 5 of them with a trash can. If they really wanted to overpower her, whether that be in real life or the kayfabe universe of WoW, especially in real life, they'd have done it. That trash can would not have stopped them. Now, she came out there as wielding a pipe. Now, that would have been a different issue. Because if you come out there with something that you can wield handily and swing quickly and, has the ability to break some bones, sure, they'll get out of there. And it could have been just as easy as like, look, I'm not going to take all of you, but one of y'all going to walk out of here different than you came. And a lot of times, that's all the threat that you need. I will not be able to beat all of you. But one of y'all out here, I don't care who, is going to leave this place different than you walked in it. But that wasn't the case. Nor was that my creative. So she came out there with a trash can and she ran the entire team of the Enlightened off, saving Kalaki from who knows what brainwashing awaited her. So the next thing I wrote is the entire team runs away. How does this make them look threatening? How? Just earlier, it's like, oh, this is a creepy scene. And it wasn't. Now this intimidating team just got ran off by one person. Never mind the fact that within her doing this, she threw her weapon away from herself, throwing it into the ring. She should have never let that thing go until they was out of there. But, whatever. I'm sure the theory was I'm just going to throw it in here so it'd be there waiting on me when I get in and I can protect my friend. But in any case, they leave. They look terrified and they get out of there. Why? This upset me is probably not the right word. But it goes back to, it reinforced what I felt about this entire angle. That is stupid. And it's inconsistent. That's what it did for me. Because now I'm looking at it like, all right, Kalaki got help within seconds. Seconds. First off, let's start with the Enlightened. Why is this entire group being allowed to be at ringside when they've clearly illustrated that they have ill intent? When we've already seen that same logic be applied and utilized against another group, and they were kicked out before they even had a chance to do anything. So why are the Enlightened even allowed? Every faction does not need to be out there in full goddamn force every time one of their members does something. It is not a necessity to do that. It's overdone. Like it happens with every faction now. It's overdone. It's not necessary. But they're doing it, so let's just go to the next point. That being Kalaki being saved within seconds by Destiny Diesel. Which then makes me feel like, oh, well, okay. We have now established in this one scene that the Enlightened will run away. Come out there with a chair, you will run them off. So rewind the clock a little bit. Why didn't somebody come out there and help Santana Garrett? I asked before, I ask again, where are her friends? My statement because you want to get the story across, my feeling was have somebody come out there, but the Enlightened fight them off. It's not that the effort wasn't put up, it's that the Enlightened overpowered them. So you get both of them, both tasks accomplished in one fell swoop. You've got people that at least attempted to save Santana Garrett. They just couldn't overcome the powers of this supergroup. But as it was, it's just like she was just abandoned. Let's just call it for what it was. No one bothered because no one cared. So why, the question goes back up, why would you be concerned, care about, frightful of, or otherwise in some level of fear of the Enlightened? They've shown themselves, in my book, to be cowards. And they will run when push comes to shove. And that was with a trash can. Like I said, let somebody come out there with a weapon that they can really wield. A steel chair, a kendo stick, a pipe, a sled, something, a baseball bat. But even with that, if they wanted to try to save the aura of the Enlightened, you don't have them run away. The easiest thing for them to do is have same scene. They're getting ready to take the stretcher, put Kalaki on it. Diesel comes out with whatever weapon she has. I guess we'll stick with the trash can in this scenario. You have the Enlightened willing to fight her, like turn around and ready to go. But you make Samantha smart, not afraid, but you have her calm her group down. No, it's not important. That she's not the objective. She's not the task. Let's go. And she backs them down. And she gets them out of there. While the Enlightened are fully willing to go and deal with or face the consequences of Destiny Diesel in the trash can, Smart gets them away. So they can remain threatening. Here, they've pulled the rug out of whatever intimidation factor that they might have had. I cannot see them as a threat. They are now officially just another team. Just another faction amongst a group of factions. And once they do whatever it is that they're doing with Santana Garrett, the magic will be gone. Next segment. The Exterminator. Sylvia Sanchez with the entire alliance versus Scout Parker. Again, the heel group is allowed to stand at ringside in its entirety. Now, the only thing that makes it comfortable here is how the match is structured. But I also would say, for the sake of the episode, I really, really, really wish they did not have these two things back to back. Kalaki, the Island Girl, versus the Classmaster with the entire group of the Enlightened at ringside. And then Sylvia Sanchez versus Scout Parker and Sanchez with the entire group of the Alliance at ringside. We just left this scenario and you're walking right back into this same scenario. When I think it could have been more impactful if one or the other were trying to overcome these odds. And in the case of where I think you would get more bang out of your buck in terms of the match or trying to overcome the odds, whether they won or lost, Scout Parker. Kalaki, that setup for her finish alone takes me out of it. Because it doesn't look like she's in any rush to try to win this. It's just like, all right, time to play around again, and I'm going to surf on top of it. It doesn't feel like it's something that I got to hurry up and do and get this thing over with so I can get out of here before these nutcases do something to me. The Enlightened just do not come off as threatening. I don't care what Nigel and McLean are saying. They don't come off as threatening, intimidating, creepy, or anything else in between. They're just another group of women collected together in cartoonish outfits. But this match, Sanchez and Parker, I was looking forward to because I like both of them. This is one that was actually somewhat looking forward to. She being Scott Parker has developed a nice underdog element. And like I said, this would have been far better if we hadn't seen a babyface fighting the odds in the previous match. It largely just makes the babyfaces, all of them, not just one, look unprepared, if not just flat out stupid. Because you know that it's going to happen. You know they're going to be there. McLean says that Ariana was able to achieve something with the alliance that her sister was unable to do. I wrote, like, what? What did Ariana Gambino do that Adriana Gambino didn't? Aside from get another member in there. And the way that McLean presented it is like she just turned this group around into this super group, and look at what she was able to do. She hadn't done anything yet. They haven't won any championships. Not the tag, not the singles, not trios, not a tournament, not a trophy, nothing. They haven't won anything yet. They haven't taken over a division. They haven't sent anybody to the hospital, under the name of this is the alliance and this is our world. None of these things have happened. What is it that Ariana Gambino allegedly has done that her big sister hasn't done? Who is off in the WWE and on Evolve right now, by the way, and changed her name again. She's basically the same person. She hasn't changed the demeanor by which she operates, but she has changed her name. It was Capri something. I did read it off one day. I can't remember it. And I watched the interviews when they were being introduced, and it was, we're gonna go one by one and let you see who these individuals are, and starting with so and so, so they get the opportunity to talk to Byron, and get their information across to the general public. Back to Wow's universe, because the other Gambino has moved on, and of course she is no longer a Gambino. She might still be within the Italian underworld, however you want to phrase it, but as far as being a alleged Gambino, that part is gone. So we can skip that, which also explains why she's no longer with the NWA and so on and so forth. And where is she now? I gotta see what Gianna Capri. That is where she is now. That is her new name, Gianna Capri. So anyhow, as a side note, it kind of sounded like McLean just wanted to be able to say something that Ariana did to outdo Adriana before she left. But, I mean, really, I'm sorry. I like Ariana, but Ariana has not done anything any different for the Alliance than Adriana did. And right now it feels like she's just falling into the same footsteps. Other than Sanchez being there, nothing's different. There were points in the match where Sanchez looked like she was making Scout work. Like she was just going to put her where she needed her to be in order to get this thing going. Parker, I thought, did fine. There was a spot in the match where she popped the crowd and popped me. This was her underdog spot. She is fighting to get by and survive Sanchez, and she's doing everything that she can do. You know, within the course of the match, we know that she's got a bunch of stuff that's going on. Then she finally gets Sanchez to a position where she could attempt, we assume, to do a moonsault. She gets Sanchez down, and she starts climbing up the corner, you know, the turnbuckles in the corner. The Alliance is all out at ringside. Ariana gets up and she's talking to the referee. Your first thought might be that Parker's about to do a moonsault and come off on Sanchez, and potentially Gambino will be there to distract the referee. She could try to go for the cover, but she's not going to get it. But what she does instead is she gets up to the top and then she jumps off and she nails the group of the Alliance. BK Rhythm, Gigi Gianni, Reina Del Rey, they all go down with this great high cross body from the top to the floor by Parker. And that did get a pop from the crowd, and a well-deserved pop at that. I will repeat, it is something that I thought that was very, wait a minute, it was very good by her. Once we got past that, and she gets the big high cross body, gets back into the ring, looks like she's now trying to go for the thing that she was assumed to have gone for initially. And she's got the crowd on her side, or at least some of them. It doesn't look like everybody there has fallen into it, but damn it, it's a start. Unfortunately, when she goes, Gambino gets back up. Now she's distracted Parker. As she's on the second rope, Sanchez pulls the feet out from underneath her. Theoretically, her head, Parker's head, goes into the turnbuckle. And then Sanchez covers her 1, 2, 3 after the distraction. I wish Parker got the opportunity to be the only babyface to fight uphill in this episode. It was a nice match, but I doubt if it goes anywhere. And again, given a choice between the two, between Kalaki fighting uphill against the Enlightened or Parker fighting uphill against the Alliance, those names are too close together, I would go with Parker. At least she looked like she was trying to win. Not to say that Kalaki wasn't trying to win. It just, you know, how much effort can it be that you're trying to get a win in there when you are, you know, doing this finish that you're doing and it takes forever? But I'm not mad at either lady. I mean, I'd have been happy either way this went, whether it was the lovely Sylvia Sanchez, you know, I got to work that in there, and or Scout Parker. I would have been pleased either way. And I thought this was a fun match, enjoyable to watch. I hope, fingers crossed, that it goes somewhere, that it allows Parker to grow, Maybe come back for a rematch against Sanchez. I don't know, but I hope that it goes somewhere for her to do something. The next segment is the recap of the Dojo Defenders drama. It shows essentially from the title shot to present. And this narrative makes it look like Kai is just jealous rather than missing her initial shot, because they didn't address her not showing up. It's a slight change in the story, but it also fixates on Lindsay calling the babyfaces losers. You know, when they recap the whole, we'll give these losers a match. These losers a match. Why did they do that to that poor girl? You got to stretch her words out. Anyhow, the promo is for the upcoming title match, and this is really more of a show of the partners falling apart opposed to Kai blowing off the match. That almost was not even brought up, which then would make you believe why they do that in the first place. If it wasn't going to be relative to the overall story, why bother? And I have insisted, like, this story does nothing to make the tag team titles seem important, or at least not to her. Like, it's a confusing narrative between that. On the one hand, it's like Kai cared so little about the tag team championships that a cup of coffee and hanging out with her friend was more important. But then I'm going to be upset about the fact that you're getting the title shot and I'm not in it. I don't know. I forgot to mention earlier that McLean and Zayn talk about the main event, and McLean somehow doesn't know what the rules will be. I was like, how do you not know this? I get that every once in a while he wants to play the innocent TV commentator, and I don't know what's going on. I'm just here doing my job. I realize that is what he wants on occasion. But he also has on multiple occasions shown that he is the boss and I can do what I want. So why wouldn't you know what the rules are? Doesn't make any sense. Anyhow, getting out of that. Next segment's top tier with the McLean voiceover. Let's skip past that. Next segment, following that, Sibley Scoles is backstage interviewing with top tier. Coach Campanelli is still better than most in WoW with her promo. I know there were people in the room that was, oh man, she's not good. No, Campanelli is good. Campanelli does well. She may need better material, but she will grow into that. It has to be pointed out. I'm like, for everybody in the natural talker, she seems that way. But to get to the height of which, put it this way, let me rephrase it. Let me stop what I was saying there. For the ones that are noted as the great wordsmith on the mic that can make people want to see them, she ain't there yet. Could she get there? Sure. I don't know if she'll be able to get there speaking as Coach Campanelli. Because Coach Campanelli, even though she's very driven with this persona, is also a persona. It's character. It doesn't come across in most cases as real. It's more grounded than a lot of other things that's there. But she's still a character. Part of the thing that makes the other people work, you see CM Punk, see Cody Rhodes, and Jake Roberts, and Roddy Piper, Dusty Rhodes, Austin's, whoever you're going to put in that category. As one of the great talkers, MJF would probably be in that category today. They're able to take things that the audience knows to be true and incorporate it within the course of their promo to make it more appealing. She hasn't gotten there yet, but she does well with what she has. She delivers the topic at hand, and she gets the point across. That is her strong suit. She does the heel thing and she makes excuses, which is that's bravo. I didn't understand why the people in the room didn't get this. Like, man, she's playing like she mad. It's like, well, she's supposed to be mad. She should be mad. She just lost the titles. Forget what I believe about the titles. And yes, I had to have this conversation at certain points within the room. It's like, forget what I think about them. You already know what I think about them. I don't care about the trios titles. But within the context of her speaking, these were things that she's like, they were made for us, which they were. That's why I called them vanity belts. And as such, we shouldn't be losing them. So I felt like her presentation, her talking, the way her excuses were perfectly fine, especially when it was all go before then. And now she's flipped it like, well, we shouldn't even have been in that match. There's no record. That's what she should do. And I applaud her for it. Like I said, is she at her final form as a promo? No. She's going to have to grow into that. But she's already started off good. Candy Crush does what Candy Crush does. She stands around like the team meathead and agrees. That's her role. I'm not even saying that to be mean. I'm just saying that's the role that she's taken. Campanelli does whatever it is that she does in the promo. Candy Crush, yeah. She's the team meathead. And Glitter just stands there. Yeah, Glitter was just there. Checking her pulse and looking at the camera. But she was fine. I mean, look, Top Tier as a team is a good team. I just hate that they got locked into the silliness of the goddamn trios title. I will keep repeating that the value of them would have been as a tag team in the tag team division, Freebird rules, and steal from the Jersey Triad. That would have been the thing. All three of them just say Campanelli found a loophole in the contract because they told us that only two of us can defend the tag team titles. They never said that only two of us could be at ringside. Only one of us could be ringside. Two has to be in the ring. So they just swap out mid-match. And you instantaneously have a mountain for the babyfaces to overcome. Anyhow. But what do I want? Why do I want to give the babyfaces a mountain to overcome so that when they actually do it, the crowd can pop and get off on it? How foolish of me. They promote next week as a championship edition match. Sorry, that was the next segment. They promote it as championship edition. And there's nothing else to really be said about that. The next match is the main event. It's Top Tier versus Monsters in Metal for the Trios Championship. I will refrain from my personal views of those championships, and we'll try to treat them like they mean something. McLean talks about Top Tier making an appearance at the Vegas hockey game and being booed out of the building. Now, I'm not going to say that didn't happen. That would be foolish of me to do that. I cannot, and I haven't honestly bothered to look. So I cannot verify whether that's true or not. However, I will just say, if he's going to bring up things like that, they should show the events in B-roll rather than just talking about it. I don't want to disparage David McLean because I know the people that watch WOW will believe what he says. If he says that, hey, they were there at the thing and they got booed out of the building because everybody hated him so much, then there's a good chunk of his fan base that will just accept that as fact. And that's fine. For the people around that, the ones that are just getting onto the show, the ones that might be trying to give it a chance because their friend talked them into it, the ones that just happen to come across it on TV or whatever, the ones that are not already in the thick of being a WoW fan, for those people, run the B-roll. If it happened, put it on the screen to where it's not disputed. And let's not go into, well, we couldn't get a camera there. Break out your phone if you gotta. But record it. There's no reason that in this day and age, if they made an appearance in those outfits as top tier and they got that kind of reaction, again, I can't say yay or nay either way. But if those things took place at a Vegas game, at a mainstream sporting event, and top tier got some level of recognition out of it, to have that and not put it on camera or show it on your show is a fool's errand. There's no reason that should not have been shown as he was talking about it. McClain says no other match got the attention of Full Metal Massacre and WoW. That's probably true. The crowd seemed very polite during the introductions. Zayn is really rolling backwards with this, saying David repeatedly. There was a point in time there where he started getting away from it, and it was like, oh, this is a breath of fresh air. You don't have to hear David every 30 seconds. But it feels like it is ramping back up. I am going to put this back out there. Please stop. God damn. I mean, it is one of the most annoying things to hear during the commentary. You do not have, we know his fucking name. You ain't got to repeat it every chance you get. He knows you're talking to him. You ain't got to address him by name every chance you get. The only way that could be even remotely understandable that he would use his name all the time is if David McClain himself said, hey, you got to say my name every chance you get because otherwise people won't know who I am. If those are his marching orders, then ain't nothing else I can say past that. But aside from being told directly to say my name every chance you get, which I can't imagine why any grown man would tell another grown man to do that. Aside from that, I'm like, bro, just call the match and address David where he's sitting. You do not have to use his name every chance you get. So anyhow, Zayn pushes the narrative that WoW sticks to, and that's that top tier breaks the rules. And I honestly vaguely remember any rules being broken with him. I mean, seriously. Nothing that top tier has done in the time that I can recall them doing it was so impactful that I'm like, yeah, okay, I want to see them lose. Even when they tried to get some heat on doing like, oh my God, he's breaking her legs with the sharp, like it was such a lame angle. And angles like that, again, I know I said this in previous podcasts, I'll say it now. Angles like that make WoW suffer because it's going to be disappointment by comparison. There are too many other wrestling promotions out here that do injury angles well. For WoW to attempt to do a subpar injury angle. And you just have to take our word for it that they're hurt. Like, I'm sure that when Randy, or we'll use this as an example because it's recent, I'm sure that when Randy Orton attacked Cody Rhodes, going into WrestleMania. Forget the Pat McAfee stuff because they're doing stupid things over there too. But when Randy Orton beat him up, he looked like he was beating him up. It's a visual medium. People need to see and believe it. And the thing that worked against them is that it's Randy Orton, and people didn't want to boo him. It's in the same vein as John Cena was, a year ago? Don't make this guy heel. Now they don't want to boo him. Now, true, Randy Orton is probably a better career heel than John Cena ever could have been. But he's still taking the crowd reaction of them liking him out of the equation. He still put a beating on Cody Rhodes that visually you could accept. I don't remember Top Tier doing anything close to that. Never. And yeah, they cheated, but I don't know if they've done any more cheating than any other heel team there. It's not like they're a standout of cheating mastery. It's not even like they had the campaign of being dirty. Like, let's use Ric Flair in his relative prime. Ric Flair carved out a niche for himself when it's like, and I'm the dirtiest player in the game. That didn't necessarily relate to him being the most violent. It didn't relate to him being the bloodiest or willing to take the biggest risk or anything like that. It's just that within the course of the ring or the course of the match, I will do what I have to do to win. Whether that be eye gouging, fish hook in the mouth, raking the back, low blows. There was a bunch of things that he found that people understood to be cheating or cheap, and how to maneuver the referee to get away with it. I haven't seen Top Tier do. I mean, look, of course, low blows probably not going to be on the menu here tonight, but the rest of the stuff they could utilize if they were trying to get this point across that they are so heinous and cheating. Fish hook the mouth, rake the eyes, pull the hair, do some stuff that everybody can understand to be horrible, and you're cheating and maneuver the referee around and all that good stuff. But on their own, as it stands right now, this Top Tier breaks all the rules. What rule did they break? I honestly don't get. I mean, again, where is it that they have done all this rule breaking? They've done some, but I just don't see them as a standout of just, oh my God, how horrible are they? They cheat all the time. I don't feel that with them because they haven't. It's not a strongly illustrated point. So anyhow, look, the match goes underway and they do what they do. Top Tier did great with their triple team maneuvers and all that good stuff. Monsters of Metal fought back. Monsters of Metal did a triple team heart attack, but it was off in the timing because it seemed like Chainsaw had to stand there and wait for a little while for Lane and Fury to get their positioning so they could do it. So aside from a couple of seconds of bad timing, I guess it was fine. Gloria Glitter tripped Chainsaw into the barricade on the floor because Chainsaw was being an idiot and chasing around her with Glitter. Glitter did the smart thing and repositioned her through a drop toe hole or something thereof to send her face first into a barricade. If you're on commentary, like, hey, you got to call that smarts. But it didn't matter because for whatever they did to Chainsaw, they can't keep Chainsaw down. So she's just inhuman. McLean could only refer to Vegas as the Fremont Street experience. For whatever reason, he just couldn't say here in Vegas. It always had to be the Fremont Street experience. So much to the point that it just became annoying. I was like, oh boy. No. I hope that they are paying him to say that by the word. Because otherwise, if you're just doing it on his own accord, this is just annoying. And just as a side note, I really hope that he has not continued to. We're live here in Vegas. That's come out of their mouths a couple of times. I don't know if they should still be doing that. I know I said it in some other podcasts, because here's the problem with that is that the wrestling world is about to converge onto Vegas in a little while, as it is WrestleMania season. And where WrestleMania and the WWE goes, so too goes the wrestling world. If any of them had the inclination, like, you know what, I'm here in Vegas, I might not ever get another chance to do this. Let me go down there and see what WOW's like. It's a free show. It's on Fremont Street. Let me go check it out. And then they get down there and they realize that, well, where's the ring at? He said this was live. So I don't know if that's something that he would want to continue to do, especially now. He might not have a choice, but especially now when there's going to be wrestling fans swarming through that place. And then, you know, as I understand, there will be some representation of WOW there. WOW can go from being the big fish in the small pond to being a tiny fish in the ocean as it relates to this. But hopefully they won't have too many people out there experiencing that scenario, going out there to look for this thing that doesn't exist right now. Anyhow, back to the match. Campanelli did a leg sweep to Lane in the corner. I would tell, don't do that again. Not in this corner over here. Don't do that again. I felt like she was just asking for somebody to have a neck problem, just whipping them back into these, because not a lot of room to maneuver out there or in that section. Top Tier tries a triple code breaker on Fury. This is towards the end, by the way. They clear out the ring. And we get towards Campanelli and Crush holding Fury on either side of her, right? Like both arms. And Glitter's right in the middle about to charge in for a code breaker. So Glitter runs up to get Fury. Fury somehow moves out of the way, bringing both Campanelli and Crush in the way of this code breaker, lung blower, whatever version she was going to do on both her partners at the same time. So now Crush is neutralized, Campanelli is neutralized, and Glitter is in there by herself. She gets nailed by all, parties involved until they do a triple team flatliner on Glitter. I forget what Zane called it, but that's close enough. 1, 2, 3, and that's it. They won. Top Tier go down to Monsters in Metal as they have lost the second match to them. Oh, boo-hoo. So now we know that the rematch has failed. Top Tier no longer is the Trios champions. I wish that thing would just disappear entirely, but it's probably not going to happen. It was an interesting show, and I'm not opposed to the match. The match of the episode for me, Sanchez versus Parker. The main event would probably be number 2 to that, and then you got the first match. It is a interesting story that they've tried to tell, but that story, in my view, lacks consistency. The Enlightened in particular. It is inconsistent. And I've already illustrated that. I was like, why are they running away from them? Why is it that somebody could come out there and say Kalaki, but they couldn't do the other? Why is he not kicking them out? It's just, I'm able to do these things one place, can't do it the other. And after a while, it's like, why? Why? For what reason is this acceptable and or allowed? But that's just the way that they've gone. And there you have it. Another episode of WoW down and in the books. And I hate to say that I told you so, but I did. Whenever it gets down to them trying to perform some sort of storyline to the effect of, this is going to be good, and we're going to get this thing across, that it's going to make sense, and all that stuff. When they are trying to do a story, it is almost always overdone, and they outwit themselves. And I don't think that this is any different than that. And there we have it. I hope that it gets better. I hope that they have something else that they can utilize to help smooth out some of the kinks and the individual stories. I hope that those things happen. I just don't believe that it will. It's sad to say, but I do not think that it will happen. So we finished out the episode. And the episode in and of itself is not bad. The main event, I would imagine, finishes up the rivalry of Monsters and Metal and Top Tier. So now we got to see what both teams are going to do going forward, that being Top Tier, and who's next on the plate for Monsters and Metal. Parker and Sanchez, good match. I don't know if it's going to go anywhere or if they have a reason for it to go anywhere. And then you got Classmaster and Kalaki, which, even though the match in and of itself fine, it did not do any favors for me as it relates to the Enlightened. The Enlightened, within the course of that one thing alone, made me feel like they just got turned into just another group. That's how it comes off to just another group. Well, that being said, and we've gotten through another episode of ups and downs and matches and stipulations and stories. What is on the horizon for WoW and this upcoming matches? Now, again, much like before, it's very possible that by the time you're hearing this, those matches may have already taken place. But for me, as I am recording, I have not seen these things. I have not seen, watched, or otherwise know anything about the matches. So I am going to do what I would normally do, and we're going to read off what it is that I have to look forward to. So bear with me, will you? The next episode of WoW is titled Battle for the Belts. It will be season 4, episode 27, or 427, if we're so inclined to include everything. And it reads as follows. It's a night of champions and drama where legends are made and hearts are broken. The action kicks off with the Wild World Tag Team Championship match as the newly formed but fiercely united duo Ashley Blaze and Tara Strike challenge the reigning champions Miami's Sweet Heat, Lovely Laura and luscious Lindsay Carlson, led by the fabulous Lana Starr. And in the main event, former Wild World Champion Santana Garrett gets her long-awaited chance to reclaim the gold from current champion Penelope Pink, with Lana Starr once again in her fabulous corner at ringside. With so much at stake and tempers ready to ignite, one thing's for sure: the champs better watch their backs and their belts. Okay, well, well, we knew this was coming around. I don't think there's any doubts to that. Nor do I think there's any doubts that I don't think any titles are going to turn hands here. It's Blaze and Strike. Listen, I said it about Miami Sweet Heat. I am probably going to extend that towards Penelope Pink as well. They are part of their individual stories, but they're not the main component of these stories. They're like just a miscellaneous piece attached to it. Even though Strike and Blaze are going after the titles in Miami Sweet Heat, the issue is not them. The issue is their I was going to say their former partner, but I guess it's not their former partners. It's just one former partner and her new friend. Because I can't imagine, again, that anybody would look at those vandalism angles and be like, oh, man, of course, Miami Sweet Heat must have did that. That's just absurd. So the Heat are a part of this, but they aren't really a part of it. They're just there because the angle needs them to be there. They're placeholders in this, at least right now. Penelope Pink is somewhat the same way. She doesn't really have an angle with Santana Garrett. Doesn't really have a beef with Santana Garrett. Doesn't really have any ongoing storyline or program with Santana Garrett. It's just that Santana Garrett is next in line for a title shot. And as such, she's going to get her title shot, but the story with her is her and the Enlightened. Penelope Pink just is on the periphery of that. So, even though those matches sound fine, and they sound like they could be enjoyable, I don't know if the match itself is the focal point here. I, off first glance, feel like this is just something that needs to be done in order to apply whatever chapter that they're going to put in next. That's my opinion. And there we have it. So, folks, again, hey, thank you for your time and listening to me carry on and vent how I feel about this program and this silliness, and sometimes the good. You know, I don't want to just say all silly, but it's ups and downs, it's rights and it's wrongs, it's good and it's bads. I'm glad that you allow me to have my moment to just vent that out a little bit. And with that being said, you know what we've got to do, and that is to let you know that you can find all of this good stuff by going to our YouTube channel. You do the YouTube things, like, share, and subscribe. That always helps, and it helps other people find it. You can go into podcast land, the audio podcast land, because we are available on greater podcast platforms everywhere, and ratings, it will be good there. If you can't find it on either of those things, or you just forgot, or a little memory lapse, perhaps, WPNWrestling.com, WPNWrestling, all one word, .com. is the centerpiece for that. It's the focal point. You can log onto that thing, and well, you don't have to log onto it. Let me rephrase that. You can just go onto the website, and you will see 24-hour day, 7-day a week, full stream of matches and interviews and whatnot, dating back to 2013 with a lot of names and faces that you know from different locations, different promotions, ranging from MLW to WWE. Wow, and everything in between. It's all there. So, and there's a bunch of them too. I cannot illustrate that. There's a bunch. It's a bunch of these episodes. Just scroll through. Go down there to that podcast widget. Just scroll. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Woo! I think that does it. And now that we've finished that up, I want to say to you that, folks, this is Mr. Green saying in closing that this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go-round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.